Welcome to the first episode of Antarang 2.0, Industry Relations Committee podcast series. I am your host, Khushi Sharma. Today, we have with us Mr. Ashay Sinha, who is a seasoned product manager at Microsoft, an ex BCG and ex Samsung Research. Not only this, he is also an alumnus of IIM Bangalore. So, let's dive in. Hello, sir. Your Instagram bio says that choose people who are good for your mental health. So, in this high pressure MBA world, how can students identify and surround themselves with people who are really good for their mental health? And what is something you will have known that told when you were graduating?
Yeah, I think a really interesting question, and I think I put I put that bio on Instagram after I graduated, and I think I if I had known this earlier, probably it would help me. When we come to MBA, we kind of think that we have to build a network, right? And it's very rightly stated that your network is your net worth. But I feel that what we fail to realize early on in the game is that not everyone in your network is your friend. Friendships are very special. I'm not saying that people who are not your friends are your enemies, but especially at a place where, like in IM, right? It's a very competitive environment. Uh, it's very important to find one or two people who are going to be there for you throughout those 2 years, and it may take time, and it's okay to make mistakes early on in the process. But not everyone in your MBA is your friend. So my suggestion is always going to be that don't look for quantity, look for quality, right? Find the right people early on who are going to be standing outside the interview room holding water, holding food for you, that when you come out you have enough support, both in terms of what you need as well as the mental support that you need, right? Because when I come to campuses like these, and I've been a part of this campus, I could clearly see that we are running after so many things that we get tired. And I'm not saying tired is physically tired, we get mentally tired, right? I have had uh, at various places, I meet people, when I talk to them, they break down. They break down in front of me because I feel that they don't have people to break down in front of, right? Because sometimes they tell me, so don't tell anyone, don't tell my batch, they may judge me, right? So prioritize one or two people, right? And I think that your friends, it's okay if you don't have friends on campus, it's completely okay. Your friends or your support systems could be your family, it could be your friends from outside of campus who you can call back, who you can speak to, right? But prioritize your energy or channelize your energy in identifying one or two key people on campus, if you want to, who can add value to your 2 years in your MBA, right? So don't run after quantity, run after quality is what I would suggest. And I think, as you graduate towards the second year, you would see that change automatically happening. Earlier, everyone is everyone's friends, but as you graduate, and it's okay, it's very natural, as you graduate, you'll start finding those people, stick on to them till the very end. And MBA is a very competitive place. Never be competitive with your friends.
But it's really such a good advice. But I
Yeah.
would say that it is just a journey of 24 months.
Yeah.
For around 5 months have already been passed.
Yeah.
We are still watching people, many introverts who are juggling to find a real space of themselves.
Hmm.
It's like they are still juggling to make friends, they are still juggling to realize who are their friends.
Hmm.
What is just one crisp advice would you like to give them, that it's really tough to be here with no friends? It is really tough.
Yeah, it's really tough to be here with
Hmm.
no friends. And see, I, at one point in time, I identified myself as introvert.
Hmm.
It's very difficult for me to go to people and ask for help. What I tried to kind of, how did I find my sanity? Uh, while I had people around, I always relied on my friends who were there with me from undergrad, right? For example, a very close friend of mine was doing MBA with me in the same year, but he was at Indore, I was at Bangalore, right? So he became that bouncing
Hmm.
uh, or punch bag for me, or that whenever I would feel
Hmm.
low, I would call him. Whenever he would feel low, he would call me, right? The other place where you can find that comfort is your family. For example, I always went back to my mom any important process I had, I made sure that I spoke to her. She would not say anything, but the energy that I would get after speaking to her made me feel so calm, so relaxed, so confident, right? So, it's okay to take your time to trust people over here, and please do take your time to trust people. I'm not saying they're bad people, right? But everyone comes with a different aim or a different goal. But your ecosystem is not just limited to this place,
Mm.
especially, you're going through placements. There's so much energy that you need to channelize in a right manner. Look out or go back to your friends who were your friends before you came to this place. Go back to your family. I think those are the people who are not going to judge you for anything. They're going to give the right advice. Of course, sometimes it's possible that they may not have the right context.
Mm.
uh, what I really enjoyed in my MBA, and even today, some of my friends came from the senior batch and from the junior batch, right? So,
Mm.
which means that I was never in dearth of finding people just because I was afraid to share something with them because you're a very competitive place. Some of my club seniors are my closest friends. Even today, they are my closest friends.
Mm.
Some of my club juniors are so close to me that I've now, after 5 years after graduating, me and them, we kind of go and take a trip together, right? So your friends can be people, above your batch, below your batch, maybe some students in the FPM course who have seen much more diverse experiences and they can guide you in a different way, right? So find people not just limited to your batch, but apart from it, and always go back to your older friends and family is always there.
This line we'll keep in mind. What is that one skill that you use at your work that no MBA college told you or talked about?
Yeah, and I think that's again a good question. Uh, we learn a lot of hard skills over here in the sense that the functional skills. These are the best places to learn those, right? And of course, when we kind of take some certain courses in, let's say, OBHR, we also learn about psychology.
Mm.
But psychology is not something which you can, just completely learn inside the
And
classroom.
learn from books.
Yeah. So I think one thing that probably we learn more outside is how to deal with people. Uh, and when I say deal, I mean that, for example, when you think that someone is not behaving the way you expect them to, and it could be as simple a task like, I'm a product manager, so I have a
Mm.
lot of dependencies on other teams. Now I go to another product manager and I kind of say, hey, why don't you help prioritize this task? And he said, no, I can't do it, right? So the utmost, I mean, the first impression is that he's very rude. Why would he not prioritize something that I'm trying to say, right? And that's where I think in Microsoft I have been very lucky to be surrounded by a lot of good people. My skip manager once told me that, hey Ashay, and he was actually telling this to many of us that when people don't behave the way you expect them to, beyond just the content or like beyond just what you're trying to your expectation
Mm.
is, just go and try understanding the context as well, right? There might be certain limitations at their end, there might be certain challenges at their end because of which they're not able to uh, meaningfully help you out, right? So what I've tried doing is that, let's say if I now kind of go and raise a request to someone, I try to build my narrative in a way where I portray as to how doing this particular thing will help you out as well, right? So when I kind of go and build a better context for them as well, is when my stakeholder management becomes easy.
Mm.
And this is just one thing, right? So after you graduate, uh, dealing with people, for example, customers and clients, especially if you're in client facing or in consulting, sometimes becomes really really tricky, and it's only the journey that you take by actually interacting with people,
Mm.
because there's so many personalities. You just do, I mean, if you take Myers-Briggs, there are 16 personalities already, right? And you're just one of them. So people are very different. Try to give them some benefit of doubt. Try to understand their context better before you try to reach to a conclusion. So that's, I think, what has been my experience and journey outside of what I learned in MBA.
I would love if you could give an answer in just yes or no. But do you really feel that being just in that understanding part is always good? Would you be always at that understanding part when you are understanding the other person?
See, I think, okay, you asked me in terms of yes or no, and my answer
Yeah.
would be yes. But I think, just because we are doing something right
Mm.
is no reason for us to expect that other people will also do things right. But I think, at one point you decide to give up. And I think at that point, you should not feel that you didn't do everything that was in your control to get the job done. And I think the best thing to do is to be right and be understanding,
Mm.
right? Because otherwise, you would have looked back and said, hey, if I would have done this thing, maybe it would have worked out. So you should never be in that situation. So you should be content that you did the right thing. It's okay because world is not fair anyways. So not every time things will go your way, but at least you should never have that regret or remorse that you didn't put your best foot in. So yeah.
So my another question would be that you have been at Samsung Research, BCG, and now Microsoft. What's mindset shift you had to make while moving from consulting, then research, then product?
Correct. So I'm an engineer. I'm a computer science engineer, right? And what I want to say is that when we are right out of our high school, you're choosing a stream. Uh, Many times we don't realize what we would like going forward or not like going forward, and many a times we take decisions which are influenced by, let's say, our family members, someone else in the family who has pursued that path, right? And what I'm trying to say is that we're too young to make that decision.
Mm.
So when I graduated, engineering seemed like a natural path because I didn't want to put in the effort to be a doctor. And then probably I had to study science. So after science, if you're not being a doctor, the other option is to be an engineer. I'm grateful for the engineering degree that I have, right? And it's today helping me in a lot of ways and talk about it. But then when I started working at Samsung Research, while I loved the company, I loved the job, I realized that I would end up writing millions lines of code in my life which probably no one else will read. Of course, it will contribute to products,
Mm.
but then I'll come at 9 a.m., write code, and go back home. And I am not that person. And I gave it 2 years, so I did not make a hasty decision. I gave it 2 years, and I realized that very great field, not for me. And that's when I decided to do an MBA because I like being where the decisions are made rather than executing on the decisions. And that's when I went to Bangalore, and that's where I interned at Boston Consulting Group. I got a full-time offer. I worked there for 1 year and again realized it's not for me. And the reason it is that again, when you're placed like this, still too young, yeah, you're not mature, you're not
Mm.
old. A lot of your decisions here are kind of influenced by your peers. I remember going to Bangalore thinking I'll go into TAS or ABG. I love general management, right? And then when I said to one of my seniors I want to go into TAS or ABG, they said, why aren't you considering consulting? And I did not even know about McKinsey, BCG, and Bain before getting into Bangalore. Sorry for that. I'm being very honest, right? So I applied, I made the resume, I got the offer, and then again, because these are great companies to work for, right? But because these are so coveted that you don't have the courage, I would say. Honestly, I did not have the courage to reject a PPO from such a great company.
Mm.
But when I went, I realized that I'm not meant for this. But I'm really grateful to both of these opportunities because when I was at Samsung, I worked on AI. I learned a lot of tech, which is not that we study in the books,
Mm.
but tech that we actually build for, used to build for customers, right? When I was at BCG, I learned how to be structured. And both of these experiences has put me today where I am, working as a product manager at Microsoft, where I actually love my job and I'm successful because I understand technology,
Mm.
because of my experience at Samsung, and because I'm very structured in the way I kind of do my work because of my experience at
Mm.
BCG, right? So in fact, I always say that life has weird ways of placing you where you exactly need to be. So
Mm.
I think sometimes you just need to trust the process. So I think for me, today when I look back, I'm using both my undergrad degree and my postgrad degree and the experiences that I've had with them to do the job that I'm doing because I'm a technical product manager. I work on tech products. So I need to understand business, be structured. That's coming from my MBA and BCG. And I need to understand technology that comes from my Samsung stint as well as my undergrad. So I'm grateful for it actually.
So, are you also that plus one who feels that engineers share an overedge over other degrees?
Not necessarily. For example, uh, in certain situations, yes. For example, if you want to go into a role like a product, engineers are preferred because they understand technology, right? I would say
Hmm.
preferred, but I'm not saying that they have a clear edge, because I know, just right now I was actually speaking to one of your friends, and I was telling that how someone who's a BCom graduate from SRCC is a wonderful product manager today at Microsoft, right? So of course your degree can give you an edge in the early process or early stint in any of the jobs that you do. But what I feel is that today there's no skill, and we're living in the age of AI, by the way.
Hmm.
And how trivial it may seem, I feel today's there's no skill that you can't learn very quickly off, let's say, a Chat GPT or a Gemini or a Microsoft Copilot, right? So in the earlier stages, yes, but then if you have the willingness to learn, you have all the tools available to bridge the gap without having a formal degree.
It's not just a degree, but it's a person too who is there.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. That uh, the willingness to learn and overcome a gap is much, much, much more
Hmm.
valuable than having graduated with a degree or from a particular place.
Yeah. My another question would be that what's one myth MBA students believe about corporate life, but you would love to burst in this podcast?
Yeah. Actually, I have two.
Hmm.
The first one is that I think when I was graduating, I remember someone told me, "What do you want to be in 10 years?" And I said, "I want to be a partner in BCG," and I left BCG in 1 year. So I think, stop believing that you have it all figured out. You don't. Today we are living in a age where careers are no longer linear. Someone does something, then identifies you don't like that. And we are actually fortunate enough to be living in a time where we have the option to maneuver a career the way we want to, right? So I started with technology, like core tech, core computer science. I didn't like it. I did something, I went into consulting. I didn't like it. I did something, I went into product, and then that's where I found my fit, right? So stop believing that you have it all figured out. You never know that, just couple of years down the line, you may be doing something completely different than what you think you'll be doing today. Who knew that there would be something called a Chat GPT, or something called such a big AI boom that has come up, and they are reshaping careers and forcing all of us to upskill, right? So that's one. The second, I think, after graduating from a place like an IM, right? If it's about I'm Sambalpur or I'm Bangalore or any of the IMs, we feel that we are entitled, right? We kind of place a lot of weightage on the titles that we get, and feel that, okay, I've graduated from such a great place, I command respect, I command authority. So we are too particular about our designation and what comes with it. But in corporate, you'll soon realize that the person who's respected the most is not the person who has the highest level of designation, but the person who's able to bring the most impact. And sometimes, that person is maybe the junior most person in the team, right? And we see a lot of those examples in all the time in all the industries, right? So one, careers are non-linear. Stop trying to feel that you figured it out. Be focused on making an impact,
Hmm.
rather than saying that you want to be a partner 10 years after you've graduated.
So, just like coffee with Karan, this
Yeah.
would be coffee with Khushi,
Okay.
but with a twist that
Okay.
without a coffee. Okay.
Okay.
So, this would be a rapid fire
Yeah.
round, and you have to answer in maybe 3 seconds.
Okay.
So, one habit that keeps you sane at work.
Yeah, I find my focus time, which means that I block all my email notifications and team notifications during that phase. No matter who it is, I'm going to get back after some time. That time for me is usually early in the morning, so that helps me stay focused.
One jargon that you hate hearing.
Quick call. A quick call is never a quick call. If you want to really speak to me, book some time in my calendar, please.
One meeting that you could have done on an email.
Yeah, most of the status update meetings, yeah. If I don't have any updates, and sometimes the updates are not on daily basis. Why do I have to wait 60 minutes of my time just to be on that call, just to say, no updates from my end, right? I would
Hmm.
rather just drop in the chat. And but you're mandated to come at certain places. I'm not talking about any specific company, but I've noticed that at multiple places.
Hmm.
So many of the status update meetings should just be an email.
One book that changed how you think.
Okay, from a professional perspective, there are two books. The first one is Hooked by Neer Eyal. It kind of tells you how do you build habit forming products. The other is Atomic Habits by,
Hmm.
uh, James Clear. Then there's a podcast, by the way. So there's a newsletter from Lenny. It's called Lenny's newsletter, but there's a Lenny's podcast as well, which has a lot of good product management related topics. But this is, if you ask me how I think, professionally is just one way, but I think the broader aspect is how I think about
Yeah,
life.
that's a click.
And I think off late I've started listening to BK Shivani a lot. For some reason, it could be my age. She has started making a lot of sense to me. And that is what, broadens my perspective as a person, which helps me do good both in my professional as well as personal life.
Okay. So one last question, that one thing MBA students should stop doing.
Stop being someone you're not. We always try to come at this place and try to project ourselves as someone who we are not, right? uh, you know Take my advice, you'll grow tired of it. It's not a sustainable thing to do, and after some time you're anyways gonna let go of it. Try to be your authentic self. You'll find good friends if you're being authentic. You'll find the right job if you're being authentic, and you'll do great if you're being authentic, right? Because if you're not someone naturally, you can't leverage that for a very long period of time.
Okay, so one more last question,
Yeah.
that one person that you feel has somewhere played a role in shaping who you are today.
My mom my mom has played a very significant, and my dad as well, but if I have to choose one, I would say my mom, because you know I come from a family where my maternal grandfather was very educated, so he has supported my mom in her education. But in general, when I look at, so I come from a small town ranch, in general when I look at the people, uh, you know people, my mom's generation did not have a lot of opportunity unless they
Hmm.
really wanted to pursue. My mom is a PhD from IIT Delhi, and I think she has sacrificed a lot in her life just to make sure that me and my brother had a life, or have a life. Professionally, she has sacrificed a lot so that we could do well, right? So I think if someone else were my mom, right, I don't think I would be the person I am today. So she's the person who kind of keeps me going every day.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.